Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Down Over. I'm Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by Harold Muliadi. How you doing, Harold?
Good. How are you doing out there, everyone?
Everyone.
I'm not expecting them to answer. It's a rhetorical question.
That's true, because nobody knows we're actually doing this at this time. We're a little off schedule. But last weekend, or actually either last Friday or this weekend, Canon announced the XF705 flagship camcorder. I found that interesting. We own two of the XF405-400 combos. We have one 405 and one 400. We've shot videos with them. We've had pretty good luck with them. They're good cameras. So now they came out with the XF705. And it has, I don't see a lot of improvements in the body. There are some, which I find rather interesting because they look like almost copies of what was in Panasonic bodies, like the HCX1000. I'm not sure if the DVX 200 has it. But in essence, you've got the display coming out from underneath the handle and can go to either side of the camera, and then it flips in any direction, which is nice. It's just like the Panasonic did. The XLR inputs are now one in the front and one in the back. That's right out of Panasonic again, and I think Sony does the same thing. They are writing now. I don't think they said how much the bit rate was. It may be 200 or 400 in 10-bit 422 color space directly to the SDXC cards. So that's what Panasonic's been doing now for about a year and a half. So they're catching up with everybody, but they're making it sound like we've innovated. We're incredibly new. This is great. First time ever we've had that's right. First time Canon has had those features. It is sort of interesting. They're becoming kind of the new Apple. And by the way, sorry, Canon, I do like you, but we call a spade a spade. And in this case, the Canon, I mean, you've worked, Harold, with the XF400 and the 405. Yeah. They're good cameras.
They are.
They have nice video. This is also a 4K camera. There is no difference lens-wise. It's a UHD camera. I think it's the same lens, same chip size, still a 1-inch chip. It can write now a higher bit rate to the drive, and it also does H.265 compression, which is actually better than H.264. Not used yet by everybody, but it's a great compression, much smaller files. So, and I think they give you one more, I think it's AVC HD, if I'm not wrong. So you're getting some pretty nice compression. You're getting some nice, a smaller compression. They can also create proxy media as needed. And I believe with HDMI output, you get the same thing. You get ProRes 10-bit 422. It might be a little bit higher on the HDMI. The features are very, very similar to the XF400. It didn't look like it had a lot more buttons. Well, actually, it did. It took the button control out of the what looked like C200, 300. So you had a whole grid of maybe 16 buttons. I like that. It looked good. It looked more useful because on the XF400 and the 405, what's really lacking are better manual controls. You have to menu dive a lot. And, that's really inconvenient. It's just not worth it. It looked like it had maybe a better viewfinder, though they're not really high resolution on the viewfinder and the color screen, but they're good enough. So anyway, those are some of the features. There are some improvements. There are some things that are nicer. And then they said the price at the end. Well, actually, they didn't. I went to B&H and I looked at the pre-order price. So we paid $3,200 for the XF400 and $2,799 for the 405, and then for the XF400 we paid $2,799, and not terribly priced. It's a little, I think, overpriced, but they're not bad for what you get. I wish you had the controls of the XF200 where you had 3 rings and you had a lot more manual controls. So to me, paying that much more for less control, I think, is a step backwards. So now the XF705, $7,500. That's a lot. It's more than double the XF405. It has all the connectors, all the audio. That's a lot of money. So that puts it within 1,000 of the XF 200 and 300. I'm not sorry, XF. Hello, the C200 and C300 cinema cameras. The XF705 is not, I repeat, not an interchangeable lens camera. So it's a camcorder. The cinema line, 200 and 300, now you're talking interchangeable lenses, whether they're EF or cinema lenses. So I don't know if bringing this out was a ruse to get people to go, oh, heck, I don't want to buy this. For another $1,000, I can just buy a C200. And for $1,500 more, I get a C300.
It does seem kind of odd, rather than them, say, coming out with a slightly lower end, cinema camera with interchangeable lenses. They come out with a camcorder that's twice the cost of their next one down. And
yeah. It's odd.
I haven't looked at the specs yet, but it does seem like it's kind of similar.
It's very similar. Yeah, it's pretty close. The quality to me didn't look that much better. It looked about the same, and they both have good quality. The stuff coming out of the XF405, 400, and the G20, the HF320, G20 are very good. They all have the same chip. It's a 1-inch sensor, CMOS, dual pixel autofocus. It's nice. Now, there is a higher sensor. I think you get more megapixels on this one. But even still, that's a huge increase in money for something that puts you pretty much inside the cinema line. You can get a C100, though it isn't 4K. But for about $7,000 or even $6,000, I think now you can get the C200, and I think you can get for $8,000 the C300. So at that point, short of having to buy lenses and short of getting some accessories, you're not far off.
Wait, but if it's more megapixels, isn't that just getting scaled back down to 4K anyway?
Yes, yeah, it does scale back down.
I mean, it doesn't, unless it's going 6K. If it shoots 6K video, maybe that's, I don't know.
It doesn't shoot 6K video.
Okay.
No. So, it shoots and it shoots UHD, not cinema. So the Panasonic GH5, for example, can outdo it in everything it shoots. Kind of interesting. And I think it may have more dynamic range. I think this has 13 stops of dynamic range. Not bad. I think the Sony's have 15. It's just interesting. They're very excited about, like Apple. They come up with something new that 4 other people have had for 4 years, and they say it's brand new. On this one, I think Canon is pushing the credibility a little bit. If it was $3,500 or $4,000, I probably would have gotten one, because that'd be another higher end to the XF405, because they're good. They're very good video cameras. But at $7,500, I would get a C300. What would you do? If you had all the money in the world, Harold, would you buy the C300 or would you buy the XF705?
Well, I mean, I guess thinking about it, getting a Canon cinema camera, if you're going to get a cinema camera and cinema lenses, then that pretty much doubles the cost of the camera at least.
Yeah.
So
well, you could also get that. You could use your EF lenses, though.
I suppose you could, yeah.
And that works pretty well. If you don't need gears or anything, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of money for a camcorder with only one lens.
I haven't seen the specs myself, but I'm not sure what it has that it's offering over the XF405.
Hardware-wise, not much different. Minor changes, and software-wise, they've added more codecs, and it looks like just a little bit more advanced on some of the features it had, but not incredible. The audio looked the same.
They've added H.265, but do they have H.264 or they?
No,
they
just 265.
That seems kind of odd. I mean, from a compatibility standpoint, just because H.264, even if it's the compression on it's slightly not as good as H.265.
No, it's better. It's better. Oh, H.264, yeah.
But it's so much more widely supported that it seems like it just seems like an odd decision to do H.265 and not H.264.
Well, H.265 has been around for several years, and it has not yet become the standard it should be.
It has.
Not quite sure why. I mean, it's used a lot. Even YouTube, I don't think, is used. Let's see. Are they using it? I don't think so. You know if YouTube's using it? I'm not sure.
I'm not actually sure which codec they're using.
But the 265 is a great codec. we've seen it. It's really tight. It's smaller, and it's beautiful. It looks really good. And yet we haven't seen it. Cable companies were talking about converting everything to H.265. We haven't seen it yet. Or maybe we haven't, just don't know it. They don't talk about it much. But it's interesting. I'm not here just to badmouth Canon, because we're just really asking about the strategy. It's a little confusing which way they're going, what they're planning on doing. And so we're wondering. We're just Canon users who wonder. We're also Panasonic users. So we have both lines, and it's just interesting. I think the price level is too high for what you get, considering you are within a little leap to get to the cinema line. And you don't need 100 lenses in the cinema. You only need 2 or 3 usually. And most cinema can even get by with 1 or 2. So an interesting thought. Let's see how it sells. I'll reiterate my theory. They brought it out to get people to buy more C200s and 300s because of the price differential.
Just kind of they
feel they get a deal.
Hey, remember this camera's here?
Yeah, they'll feel they got a deal now. Because if you come in and go, I got to pay $7,000 or $8,000 for the 200 and 300, that's a lot of money. Oh wait, the best camcorder just came out for almost the same. Well, heck, I'll just get the cinema.
I mean, yeah, I assume that they're just kind of trying to bridge the gap, but it just seems like an odd decision to do it that way rather than coming up with a cinema camera that's maybe slightly more
cost effective. Yeah. Like replace the C100 with a 4K C100.
Yeah.
Which they haven't done, and I don't think they're going to do, because then it makes it too cheap. But they brought a camcorder up to cinema costs. Wow. It could either go really well or really, Meanwhile, on another front, today's the 17th, I think in about 7 more days, Panasonic will be introducing their new supposed full-frame mirrorless camera. That has me kind of excited, because here's a company that has the best ergonomics of anyone. Sorry, Canon, not you. They have wonderful ergonomics. Those cameras shoot beautifully. They're rugged. I've dropped one, I know. They really just hold up like Canons do. And they're so much cheaper, and you get more video features on one of those than you get on a $10,000 camera. So Panasonic's with the full-frame mirrorless could really, really, really take over that marketplace if they have good focus. If they don't get rid of the articulating screen. What else could they do? If you keep the IBIS, what else could they really screw up?
Oh, there's a lot of things they could screw up, but I think we're just kind of hoping that they won't.
Yep. I mean, if God, Panasonic, save us, please. Save us from this mess that's out there. And if you look at the Panasonic camcorders, they're not that hot. They get a lot of dings. I saw reviews. They range from like 1 to 5. It's like, ooh. They're a little funky. We had the Panasonic HCX1000. It's more prosumer, leaning towards consumer. I didn't care for the output of it that much. And it was a $3,200 camera. It had good ergonomics. It was big, but it had really good 3 rings and all the other good stuff. It just didn't take that great a video, and the focus wasn't the best. Sound familiar? It's Micro Four Thirds. It used the Micro Four Thirds lens, which is not lens sensor, which is actually bigger than the 1-inch that Canon's using, because Micro Four Thirds is about 1 1/3 or 1 1/4 inches.
Yeah,
so
1 1/3.
1 1/3. Yeah, so that's a lot. It's quite a bit bigger. It doesn't sound like much, but that's bigger by quite a bit than a standard 1-inch sensor. It's amazing how much more you get into a sensor when you do that. And the Panasonic DVX 200 looks good. It's already 3 years old, I think. So, I don't know what their updates are currently for modern cameras, or camcorders. They're nice, but I don't know. I wasn't as crazy about the Panasonic as I prefer the Sonys in the way that not the Sonys, the Canons in the way they work. I think I even preferred the Sony NX80 to the Panasonic, because the like I said, focus wasn't as good, and the camera the camcorder didn't really do it for us. But they can do well. Panasonic can really knock it out of that ballpark if they want to. Will they want to? I don't know. We shall see. Any final thoughts, Harold?
Well, I mean, I think so far, at least after the updates they've given it, the GH5 it's a good video camera with a lot of versatility because of the interchangeable lenses and all that. And at that price range, I don't know that there's anything else that kind of compares.
No, and actually, Hugh Brownstone on his podcast, I think it was on Friday, was talking about Caleb DSLR video shooter. I was up since 4:15 this morning, mouth not working. DSLR video shooter, great guy. He does a really good podcast, very detailed. Well, he was showing some comparison footage of the GH5S with the Canon EOS R, the brand new full frame mirrorless, and the GH5S blew it away. It was that much better. It looked really, really good. Hugh called up Caleb and says, wow, I mean, what happened? So it was very interesting. Watch Hugh Brownstone's podcast on that. It was really good. It talks about some of the things and the tests they're going to do with Caleb, and it was noticeable. The GH5S looked really a lot better, and it's a micro four thirds camera. Makes you wonder. Because when you're shooting on an EOS R, the Canon EOS R, you've got a full frame sensor, but you're basically shooting the size of a micro four thirds sensor because it crops it in so much.
Well, and also with the GH5S, I mean, it's I guess a smaller sensor, but the S in particular has those bigger pixels, so it's
12,
almost
12
like
megabytes of big pixels, I think. Yeah, what a difference. So anyway, real interesting. This is a very strange year. We're getting a lot of new cameras and a lot of competition. Let's hope it keeps up, because the more competition, the only people who really benefit are us, unless they all decide to become mediocre in every which way, and then we all lose. But so let's hope they rise to the next level and we have some really good cameras. So we will see you folks later on this week on Friday with Jeff Blanchard, and have a good week. Bye, Harold.
Bye, Rick. And bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.